working both economically and politically, but it won't change President Putin's basic calculation, which is that he needs to have influence in Ukraine.
Well, if it won't change his influence, what's the next step to secure, Ukraine's future?
Well, that's a difficult question. I think the next step, as I mentioned, parliamentary elections in late October, which should give President Poroshenko the ability to get more of what he wants out of the parliament, particularly an anti-corruption law. He has delayed implementation of the economic part of the association agreement with the European Union for a year or so. So he needs to use this time to get Ukraine ready to compete in a European market, because it's going to be doing more of that in the future. So, as I said, I think a lot of the things President Poroshenko wants to do, I believe he feels he can move forward with as long as the situation in the East is not too volatile. And so I think that's what he's going to be focused on in the coming months, particularly after the new parliament takes office.
As always, it's been a pleasure having you join us on The World Today. Thank you very much. I've been
you.
Speaking to the Voice of America's Al Pessin, and he's been sharing his thoughts with us from London. He just arrived back from Ukraine last week, and he's been telling us more about the sanctions against Russia concerning Ukraine. Thank you very much. Now to the Middle East. 24 hours after he was sworn in as the new Afghan president, clear changes are already being noticed. The new Afghan government has signed a security deal with American officials that will allow U.S. troops to remain in the country beyond 2014. The agreement was signed by Afghanistan's newly appointed National Security Advisor, that's Hanif Atmar. The previous president, Hamid Karzai, refused to sign the bilateral security agreement with the United States, straining ties and raising security fears. Most NATO forces are to withdraw this year, leaving 9,800 U.S. troops behind. The total number of troops in the U.S.-led mission at the start of next year will be around 12,500, with the remainder coming from allies such as Germany and Italy. U.S. Ambassador to Kabul, Jim Cunningham, also signed the long-delayed agreement on behalf of the government in Washington. Well, after the break on The World Today, another volcanic eruption, and it's the same one in Japan. Please stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching The World Today on Channels Television. Now, efforts to recover the bodies of at least 24 climbers have been suspended again after the eruption on Japan's Mount Ontake intensified. This morning, the volcano was shooting out even more ash, smoke and rocks than before. At least 36 people are thought to have died in Saturday's unexpected eruption, and dozens of other people were injured in the incident on the mountain, which is about 200 kilometers west of Tokyo. Hundreds of firefighters, police and troops have been involved in search operations, and 12 bodies have also been recovered. Another 24 are reported to be on the mountain, including 5 more located on Monday. Now, the intruder, or rather the director of the U.S. Secret Service, says its security plan was not properly executed when a man broke into the White House this month, and that's a lapse that she's described as completely unacceptable. Julia Pearson told a House Oversight Committee that such an incident would never happen again. She was addressing congressmen angry over the 19 September breach. Meanwhile, a U.S. media report has also revealed that the man arrested for breaking into the White House earlier this month gained access to more of the building than previously believed. 42-year-old Omar Gonzalez made it to the East Room in the highly guarded room on the 19th of September. Unidentified officials also said the multiple news outlets have also confirmed that information. It was earlier reported that he was stopped at the north portico doors after scaling the building's main fence, but that might just be a little bit of what was known at the time. Mr. Gonzalez was said to be armed with a knife, barreled past a guard posted at the door of the White House, and ran into the East Room before being tackled by authorities.
I'm here today to address the concern that we all share following the incident of September 19th at the White House. It's clear that our security plan was not properly executed. This is unacceptable and I take full responsibility, and I will make sure that it does not happen again. On September 19th, a man scaled the north fence of the White House, crossed the lawn while ignoring verbal commands from Uniform Division officers, entered through the front door, and was subsequently arrested on the state floor. Immediately that night, I ordered enhancements around the complex and, in consultation with the secretary, initiated a comprehensive review of the incident and protective measures to ensure this will not happen again. The review began with a physical assessment of the site and personnel interviews. All decisions made that evening are being evaluated, including those on tactics and use of force in light of the totality of the circumstances confronting those officers.
From security matters to health matters now, there have been many calls for the international community to step up its effort in helping control the spread of the Ebola virus in the affected countries and also beyond. And there have been relatively good responses. For instance, the United States has announced that it plans to quickly increase its presence in Liberia, where military personnel are deploying to help the West African nation halt the advance of the epidemic on record.
Washington is sending some 3,000 soldiers to the region to build treatment centers and train local medics. Around half will be based in Liberia, with the rest providing logistical support outside the country.
As our military forces continue to flow in, we'll continue to work together so that we complement each other's abilities and efforts to support the government of Liberia. We'll also be partnering with the armed forces of Liberia, and they are eager to help their fellow countrymen. Our soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines will work side by side with our Liberian hosts and build on our already special relationship.
Williams said the U.S. mission was planning to build and supply 17 Ebola treatment units across the country, but added that Liberian authorities would still be leading the effort.
But the AFL has a great ability. They're already out, and they are doing these surveys with us and helping us because they have the knowledge of the local areas. So we are not doing anything solely by ourselves.
After a slow initial response, foreign governments and international organizations are now pouring funds, supplies, and personnel into West Africa. U.S. President Barack Obama on Thursday called on more nations to help fight the outbreak, saying hundreds of thousands of lives were at stake. Britain, France, China, and Cuba have all pledged military and civilian personnel alongside cash and medical supplies. Speaking of China, China's medical aid unit in Sierra Leone has confirmed that 17 out of the 24 samples they have tested for the Ebola virus were positive. The samples from suspected Ebola patients were provided by Sierra Leone's Ministry of Health and Sanitation. The Chinese mobile unit stationed at the Sierra Leone China Friendship Hospital in Freetown is designed to conduct tests at what is known as P3 or Biosafety Level 3, a measure of the lab's ability to handle hazardous samples. According to doctors, Ebola samples would normally require Level 4, the highest level of biosafety. Liberia is said to have recorded 1,830 deaths, around 3 times as many as Guinea or Sierra Leone, the 2 other heavily affected countries. On its part, the U.S. Embassy plans to build a 25-bed unit to treat infected health workers and Liberians, which had begun in Magrivi country in central Liberia.